happened since the uprising began on February 15th. Certainly there is tension in the air. People are wondering what is the next step of the government. The fact that government forces have been clashing with the opposition only 200 kilometers away from Brega has risen the tensions here in Benghazi. A lot of volunteers are preparing themselves. Some have already taken the road to try to go and reach the fighting. There is certainly a feeling that at this stage, this part of the country, the east, must help the rest of the country to be liberated.
Well, the Libyan government has seized what it claims are illegal drugs being used by opposition activists. On Thursday, Libyan television aired pictures of the alleged haul. Authorities say they were found during searches of trucks in a coastal town east of Tripoli. On the 34th anniversary of the Libyan revolution that brought Muammar Gaddafi to power, protesters have burned copies of his controversial book, The Green Book. Demonstrators in the city of Misrata danced and chanted slogans against Gaddafi. The document is a mix of various Islamic principles, socialism, and the Libyan leader's own political thought. Ali al-Rishi is the former Libyan Minister of Immigration and Expatriates. I spoke to him a few minutes ago.
His support in terms of public support is almost non-existent. The morale of his troops is very, very low because these people are coerced to fight. His firepower, clearly, of course, he owns the instruments of the state, so he has more firepower than the freedom fighters. But that did not do them any good because the spirits of our young people and our population at large and the freedom fighters are high. I have no doubt in my mind that at the end of the day, hopefully sooner than later, we will prevail.
Talking about Muammar Gaddafi's rejection of calls for reform, there's now a call for mediation from Venezuela's Hugo Chavez. How do you respond to that? Do you think that in any possible way could be an alternative to a military solution?
If by mediation or negotiation it meant his departure, then I think there is a consensus among Libyans in spite of the bitterness and the sadness and the crimes they committed against them just to save lives, that if that is what they mean by negotiation, then I think they can negotiate. They are not going to negotiate with the freedom fighters. We are not going to bargain with the blood of our young people. And it's too late. His departure is not negotiable. But if Mr. Chavez or others want to help, as I always say, one day, not just one life, one day of the life of one Libyan for us is precious. And if we can save that, then we will take it. It's not our a preference that people who committed the crimes against the Libyan people should face justice.
Yeah, talking about facing justice, again, sorry to interrupt you, Luis Moreno Ocampo from the ICC, the chief prosecutor, has got a few senior members of Muammar Gaddafi's inner circle in his sights. Do you think that would help or hinder the situation, given that there isn't the calm to really put people on trial at this moment in time? It's a very fluid situation.
Well, we are not going to intervene on the judicial process. It is an old tradition that when the law speaks, when the judiciary speaks, others should respect that, and we're not going to kind of intervene in the sense that we have a political expedient goals that will undermine the judicial process. Well, I'm very sure that those who has in mind are ones who are not going to turn against, Gaddafi, and we're not going to intervene with the judicial process, especially that we are in the process of establishing a state that based on an independent judiciary and on the rule of law.
US President Barack Obama has made his strongest statement yet on Gaddafi. For more, let's cross to Jane Dutton in Washington. Jane?
That's right, Imran. Obama called for Gaddafi's immediate departure, but he said that the US is still considering all options on how to proceed. The US president said his country was focusing on humanitarian aid for the moment, including using military aircraft to help move refugees from the Libyan border. Obama also warned anyone following Gaddafi's orders to carry out violence that they would be held accountable. And he praised international efforts against Libya so far, saying the sanctions against the country were the most rapid and forceful in history.
There are a whole range of options, military and non-military, that we're examining, and we'll be making these decisions based on what's best for the Libyan people and how can we make sure that we're minimizing the harm to innocent civilians during this process. Throughout all this, we will continue to send the clear message that it's time for Gaddafi to go. One of the extraordinary successes of Egypt was the full ownership that the Egyptian people felt for that transformation. That has served the Egyptian people well. It serves U.S. interests well. We did not see anti-American sentiment arising out of that movement in Egypt precisely because they felt that we hadn't tried to engineer or impose a particular outcome, but rather they owned it.
Joining me now is AlJazeera, the former Libyan ambassador to the United States. What do you make of Obama's speech? He says that Gaddafi must go, but yet he's praising the Egyptian people for doing it all themselves.
First of all, I must correct your information. I'm not former Libyan ambassador in the United States. I am the ambassador of Libya in the United States.
Okay, let's just talk about that. Yeah. The Libyans basically disowned you, said that you're no longer the ambassador. As far as you're concerned, and I gather as far as the administration is concerned, you are continuing in your duties as ambassador.
Yeah, but nobody is believing what Libya is saying these days, especially the regime.
Ambassador.
Well, I think thank you to the President Obama. I made a appeal on behalf of the Libyan people 2 days ago through the CNN, and I asked his support. Then thank you, Mr. President, for responding positively to the appeal of the Libyan people. I think today the President, he named the Gaddafi by name, and he's telling us that the United States is responsible and they can take further action. But I still to stress on the non-fly zone. This is a very important issue because now Gaddafi, he is start to strike in east part and in the middle, and he yesterday and today he strike very important area, which is where the oil supply go to Europe and to the world. Then please, you have to upgrade and you have to act and you have to decide with the European countries how you work together to enforce the non-fly zone.
But do you really think that this no-fly zone in the long term is the right way to go? Because to impose a no-fly zone, there's got to be a certain amount of military action taken against the Gaddafi regime.